Hey, ghost in the crowd. Yeah, you. The one they never saw coming. You don't move like the rest. You don't talk like the rest. And when you strike, you don't miss. Now the suits are sweating bullets in glass rooms, whispering behind locked doors like kids who lit the match but can't put out the fire. Who trained you? That's what they're asking. Not why you did it, not what made you snap, but who turned you into this precision nightmare. Because this wasn't personal. Nah, this was surgical, strategic, icy, and that scares the hell out of them. See, they understand rage. They know how to profile a broken man with a grudge. They've got flowcharts and categories for chaos. But you're not chaotic. You're composed. You made them bleed with math. You didn't yell. You didn't shake. You planned. You calculated. And when you moved, it was like a ghost in a war room. You were never the loud kid breaking things. You were the quiet one, watching, studying, smiling while they underestimated you. And now they're reviewing tapes, whispering, there's no way this was self-taught. No way someone gets that good without help, without training, without backing. But they don't get it. They don't understand what it does to a person. To be dismissed, ignored, humiliated, broken down inch by this machine they all serve. You weren't trained by an elite assassin. You were trained by life, by betrayal, by silence, by watching everything you love get torn apart in slow motion while everyone just walked past you. That's what shaped you. That's what refined you. Not a mentor, not a manual, just years of being the punchline, years of being underestimated, years of being unseen. You weren't born strategic. You became strategic when being emotional stopped working, when you cried and no one cared, when you begged and no one listened, when you showed your heart and they laughed. So you adapted, you flipped the board. You turned feelings into formulas. You turned tears into tactics. And that's what scares them the most. You don't come from a file. You come from the shadows beneath their files. You come from cracked phone screens, cheap apartments, and long nights staring at the ceiling wondering why the hell this world keeps rewarding liars. You're not some CIA defector. You're the system's ugly little consequence, because when you hurt someone long enough, deep enough, and leave them with nothing long enough, they stop reacting, they stop screaming, they start thinking. And you've been thinking for years. Every move you made was a mirror, every step was a response. They thought they were leading the game, but you flipped the entire damn board while smiling in the back row. This wasn't vengeance. It was physics, cause and effect, input and output. You didn't lash out blindly. You made a list. You did your homework. You waited. You watched. And then you executed flawlessly. No mess, no panic, just results. And now the agency wants to know who taught you how to think like this? Who gave you the playbook? Who made you cold enough to not flinch when the world burned behind you? But the truth is, it was them. Every time they turned their back, every time they laughed while you struggled, every time they told you to suck it up. They trained you. They built this. You don't have a mentor in a dark basement somewhere. You have years of silence echoing in your head. And silence is the deadliest instructor of all. You learned patience from being ignored. You learned strategy from watching people manipulate. You learned precision from having nothing to fall back on. So now, when you show up calm, unshaken, unbothered, it terrifies them because they know this isn't rage. This isn't impulse. This isn't a moment of madness. This is deliberate. This is designed. This is engineered pain, weaponized by willpower. And the wildest part, you're not even mad anymore. That's what confuses them the most. You're not doing this for revenge. You're not trying to make them pay. You're just doing what needs to be done. Cleaning up a mess they let rot. Like a surgeon with a scalpel, you cut away the cancer while they scream about morality. The same morality they abandoned when it wasn't convenient. So when they say, this wasn't personal, they're right. It was clinical. It was the final exam, and you passed with distinction. They're not scared because you're violent. They're scared because you're fluent in control. And people fluent in control. They don't explode. They orchestrate. They don't just retaliate. They restructure. And you've become the blueprint for what happens when the world ignores someone with a sharp mind and a broken heart. They wanted a villain, but they created an architect, one who doesn't just destroy. You redesign. You rewrite the rules. You study the angles. And when the time is right, you strike once. Clean, precise, undeniable. Now all that's left is echoes. And that burning question looping in the background of every closed door meeting. Who trained you? And the real answer? Pain did. Silence did. You did. You didn't come out of some secret facility with a barcode on your neck. You came from cracked sidewalks, overdue rent, and people looking through you like you were furniture. You came from the kind of places nobody writes documentaries about. No soft music, no credits rolling, just you, sitting in the middle of a storm nobody even noticed was happening. And yeah, they thought you'd break. They were counting on it. They fed you just enough hope to keep you hanging, but never enough to escape. And when you started figuring things out, really figuring them out, they didn't take it seriously. They thought it was a phase. They thought you'd get tired, or bitter, or just melt into the background like everybody else who dared to wake up. But you didn't. You didn't spiral. You sharpened. You took every insult, every snub, every fake smile and microaggression and stitched it into a goddamn blueprint. You turned passive aggression into reconnaissance, every fake laugh at your expense. You logged it. Every time they said you're too sensitive, you stored it. Every time they acted like you were crazy for seeing the game for what it really is, you built a system around it. You're not dangerous because you're violent. You're dangerous because you're calm, because when they pushed, you didn't scream. You listened. You logged the data. You made adjustments. You stayed low. You waited for openings they didn't even know they left behind. And the thing is, when you showed up with that fire in your eyes and a strategy in your chest, they didn't even recognize you, because the version of you they remember, that version's dead. The kid who used to care what they thought, the one who over-explained, over-apologized, who begged to be seen, to be heard. That kid got buried under all the times they looked right through him. You're the aftermath. You're the answer to a question they were too arrogant to ask. You're what happens when somebody takes every ounce of pain and turns it into focus. You walk into rooms now, and the air shifts. Not because you're loud, not because you're trying to flex, because you carry intention. You carry the weight of 1,000 quiet nights they didn't have to live through. You walk like a man who's already seen the ending, like someone who's done asking for permission. And people feel that. They sense it. It's primal. They start stumbling over their words, second-guessing themselves. They can't figure out what changed. You're the same face, same voice, but there's something underneath now. something surgical, something unshakable. That's what control does. It rewires you. You stopped chasing closure. You stopped waiting for apologies. You realized the only justice you were ever going to get was the one you engineered yourself. You're not here for redemption. You're not here to be understood. You're here because every system that was supposed to protect you left you to rot, and you learned to write your own algorithms. That's what kills them the most. They wanted to believe you snapped, that it was just an emotional outburst, something primal, something they could label and shove in a file. But what you did? Nah, that was deliberate. That was refined. That was hours of thinking while they were laughing. That was years of endurance they never saw. They'll keep running circles in boardrooms, calling in analysts, scanning old footage like they missed something obvious. They didn't. What they missed wasn't on tape. It was in the way you kept showing up, the way you kept listening, even when they thought you weren't paying attention, the way you smiled with your mouth, not your eyes. They still don't get it. They think strategy is a whiteboard and a mission briefing. They don't know strategy is sitting in a room full of snakes and learning how to move without getting bit. Strategy is watching their hands, not their mouths. Strategy is surviving the gaslighting long enough to start seeing the pattern in it. They don't understand that kind of warfare. It wasn't written in any book they studied. It was lived, one humiliating moment at a time. They built you, not with kindness, not with support, but with silence, with disrespect, with manipulation so thick you had to claw your way back to reality with bleeding fingernails. And still, you didn't break. You got clinical, you got precise, you got dangerously focused. And when the time came, you didn't swing wildly. You didn't need backup. You didn't flinch. You just made the move. Clean, quiet, inevitable. And the second it was done, they weren't even mad. They were scared. Because for the first time they saw it. They saw you. And yeah, the moment that realization hit them, it was like the whole damn floor dropped out. You could see it in their faces, like their little mental script just short-circuited. The profile didn't match. The narrative didn't hold. The quiet one they sidelined, the nobody they ghosted, just rewrote the rules while they were too busy playing favorites and patting themselves on the back for holding the power. You didn't ask for power. You didn't scheme for it. You just refused to stay powerless. That's the difference. You didn't build this to flex. You built it to survive. And then, once you realized you could do more than survive, once you tasted what it felt like to move with intent, you stopped waiting. You stopped hoping. You started engineering outcomes. They wanted chaos, man. They expected an explosion, a messy collapse, something they could clean up and spin. But what you gave them, it was order. Brutal, silent, undeniable order. Every move you made was tighter than the last. No breadcrumbs, no outbursts, just a quiet dismantling of everything they thought was safe. You became the storm they thought they could outsmart. And the wildest part is, you're not even done. Because this wasn't about some petty revenge fantasy. This isn't you getting even. This is the beginning of a correction, a realignment, a shift in the damn gravitational pull. You're not looking for applause or closure or some weird sense of poetic justice. You're looking to reset the whole foundation they built their comfort on. And yeah, they're rattled. Because when you don't seek revenge, when you don't need validation or forgiveness, when you just execute, efficiently, emotionlessly, they realize they were never in control to begin with. You were never their pawn. You were a variable they forgot to account for. That silence they confused for obedience. That was observation. That patience they labeled as weakness. That was timing. And every single dismissal they threw your way, every shoulder shrug and backhanded compliment, got logged and categorized while you sat there acting like it didn't sting. They don't realize what kind of monster gets built in silence. You're not the product of some underground operation. You're the outcome of neglect, weaponized into precision. You're the algorithm of every ignored cry, every forced smile, every "you'll get over it" that landed like a gut punch. And when people like you finally switch from reaction to strategy, yeah, the whole board shakes. You didn't just survive the fire, you studied it, watched how it moved, how it spread, how people panicked. And when it was your turn, you didn't set things ablaze. You just removed the oxygen. That's what makes you lethal. Not rage, not size, not violence. It's that stillness behind your eyes, that eerie calm that says, I know exactly what I'm doing. That undeniable vibe that you've seen the worst, endured the worst, and still chose to build with your hands instead of destroy with your fists. And yeah, they're whispering now, wondering if this is just the start, asking questions in meetings with locked phones and nervous glances, trying to figure out if you're working alone, or if there's more like you out there. People who stopped waiting to be saved and started training in the dark. They thought they had time. They thought you were asleep. They didn't know you were planning. Every eye roll, every fake smile, every lie to your face. You collected all of it, not to cry about it, to build a playbook. And now you're moving with the kind of purpose that doesn't need to shout. Because when you're this locked in, when your soul's been tempered in that kind of pressure, you don't announce yourself. You don't warn them. You just walk in and change everything. It's wild, right? How quick they flip, from mocking you to mimicking you. Like all of a sudden the same ones who called you too intense, too cold, too serious, are scrambling to copy your blueprint, watching your every move like it's a damn tutorial, trying to figure out how you went from the background to the threat. But the thing is, they can't replicate it. They don't have the scar tissue. They don't have the nights. They didn't pay the price in blood and doubt and brutal self-control. Because this didn't come from ego. It came from absence. You had to build this mindset brick by brick in a world that tried to convince you you were nothing. You didn't just study tactics. You became one. And man, there's something so different about the way you walk into spaces now. Not loud, not cocky, just undeniable. You walk like you've already mapped the exits, like you know the weight of every silence in the room, like you're not here to be liked, you're here to execute. People feel that. They don't know what it is, but it gets under their skin. They laugh a little too loud around you. They avoid eye contact when you're quiet. They throw shade in subtle ways because they can't say what they really feel. It's fear, not of what you'll do, but of what you see. You see through them, through the power. There it is, that silence before the alarms go off. That moment when the room doesn't breathe anymore because you just did something that can't be undone. You felt it, didn't you? The shift. The air getting heavy like reality just recalculated around you. Because it wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't violent, it was one move. And the terrifying part? They didn't flag what you did. They flagged how you think. That's when it stopped being a game, See, you can break rules and they'll call you reckless. You can dominate systems and they'll call you lucky. You can win too fast and they'll call it a fluke. But when you make a move that rearranges the logic of the room, when your decision exposes angles nobody else even knew existed, when your timing feels less like strategy and more like inevitability, that's when the labels disappear. Now you're not a person, you're a pattern anomaly, and they hate that. Because they don't fear chaos. They can model chaos. They don't fear aggression. They can neutralize aggression. What they fear is someone who looks calm while their mind is doing things that shouldn't be possible. That one move, it wasn't genius. It wasn't insanity. It was both. And that's the problem. You're the kind of mind that can sit in the light and understand the dark without flinching. The kind that can wear innocence like armor while running calculations that feel wrong. The kind that learned pain so deeply it turned into clarity. That's the paradox they can't stand. You're not broken enough to dismiss, not pure enough to control. You evolved somewhere between saint and psychopath, and now neither side knows what to do with you. And listen carefully, because this is where it gets dangerous. The moment they flagged how you think, you stopped being judged on outcomes. Now they're watching your pauses, your silence, your restraint. They're asking questions like, why didn't you push harder there? Why did you wait? Why did you choose that path when 10 louder ones were available? They don't understand that you don't rush anymore. Because pain taught you something discipline never could. You learned that timing is power, that unpredictability isn't randomness, it's control disguised as chaos, that the deadliest move is the one that looks harmless until it's irreversible. You weren't supposed to learn that, not from what you survived. Most people come out of pressure cracked. You came out calibrated. That's why they're uncomfortable around you now. They can feel it even if they can't explain it. Your presence doesn't scream dominance. It pressurizes the room. Your silence feels like surveillance. Your calm feels like a countdown. And the funniest part? You didn't even do it to scare them. You did it because that's the only way your mind works now. Efficient, precise, ruthless when necessary, merciful when it serves the long game. That's what they flagged. Not your ambition, not your confidence, your decision architecture. They realized you don't think like prey, but you also don't think like a predator. You think like something that already survived extinction once and adjusted. That's why your light feels unsettling. It's not naive, it's informed. Your darkness isn't reckless, it's measured. Angel when restraint is required, demon when lines are crossed. And you don't announce the switch, that one move. It told them everything they needed to know. That you don't need momentum, you create it. That you don't chase outcomes, you position inevitabilities. That you don't react, you pre-arrive. Now every time you go quiet, someone gets nervous. Every time you smile, someone rechecks the data. Every time you walk away, someone wonders what you already saw coming. Because once they flag how you think, they know one thing for sure. You can't be negotiated with. You can't be rushed. You can't be intimidated. You already paid the price that breaks most minds. And instead of collapsing, you learned how reality actually works. So let them watch. Let them study. Let them whisper. They're not trying to stop you anymore. They're trying to understand what you became after that one move changed everything. And the truth? Even they know it's too late now. And here's the part they'll never say out loud. The moment they realized how you think, a quiet panic set in. Not loud, not obvious, but the kind that crawls under the skin of people who are used to being in control. Because control depends on predictability, and you shattered that without raising your voice. They started replaying everything you ever did, not to judge it, to decode it. And the more they replayed it, the worse it got. Because there was no emotional spike, no desperation, no sloppy overreach, just precision wrapped in patience. That's when the questions changed. Not what's your next move, but how far ahead were you already when we noticed? That's the fear they don't know how to manage. You see, most people think evolution looks loud. Growth, ambition, dominance, expansion. Yours didn't. Yours happened quietly, in isolation, in moments nobody was watching. It happened while you were absorbing pain without collapsing, while you were learning when to speak and when silence kills faster, while you were realizing that emotional control isn't suppression, it's weaponized clarity. They assumed suffering would soften you, that it would make you cautious, smaller, easier to guide. Instead, it sharpened your perception. You learned how systems breathe, how people telegraph fear before they admit it, how power exposes itself not in action, but hesitation. That's why your decisions feel eerie now. You don't react to the surface, you move based on what's about to crack underneath. They noticed that. That's why when you made that one move, so small it looked harmless, everything froze for a second. Because it wasn't aggressive, it wasn't defensive, it was inevitable. And inevitability terrifies people who believe they're in control. Now you're in a strange position, whether you admit it or not. You're still playing the game, but the rules no longer apply to you the same way. You can feel it when you enter a space. People recalibrate. They watch your timing, not your words. They listen harder when you stop talking, not because you're loud, but because you're accurate. You don't waste moves, you don't posture, you don't bluff. Every decision you make feels like it passed through 10 invisible filters first, and they don't know what those filters are. That's the real reason they flagged how you think. Because once someone stops making emotional decisions, once someone starts choosing outcomes instead of reactions, once someone understands both mercy and destruction deeply enough to wield either, that person isn't controllable anymore. You're not fueled by ego. You're fueled by alignment. And that makes you dangerous in a way violence never could. You can walk away from things others would kill to protect. You can wait where others would panic. You can let people underestimate you because you understand the value of being unseen. That's not weakness, that's predatory restraint. They sense it now. In your stillness, in your pauses, in the way you don't chase validation or rush to prove anything. You already proved it to yourself. That's the part nobody can touch. Your mind doesn't need approval. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need permission. It's already operating on a different layer. That's why when pressure hits you now, something strange happens. You don't tense up. You don't speed up. You slow everything down. And in that slowed down space, you see options others can't. Angles they miss. Consequences they never consider until it's too late. You don't look powerful. You look prepared. That's what scares them. Because preparation implies foresight. And foresight implies you've already been here before. Mentally, emotionally, strategically. They start wondering what else you've already walked through in your head. What scenarios you've already survived internally. What endings you've already accepted long before they even showed up. That's when admiration mixes with fear. They respect you, but they don't understand you. And they don't understand you because your evolution didn't come from success. It came from endurance, from holding opposing forces inside you without breaking. Light and dark, mercy and ruthlessness, hope and realism. You didn't choose one, you integrated both. And now, every move you make carries that weight. So let them watch, let them analyze, let them whisper about that one moment. Everything changed. They're right about one thing. That move wasn't just a decision, it was a reveal. It showed them that whatever version of you they thought they were dealing with is already outdated. And the version standing here now, it doesn't rush, it doesn't explain itself, it doesn't seek permission, it simply waits and moves when the moment can no longer be stopped. And here's the detail that keeps them awake, the one they never admit even to themselves. They didn't just see intelligence, they saw self-containment. You don't leak emotion under pressure. You don't telegraph desperation. You don't overcorrect when eyes are on you. Your mind stays sealed, and sealed minds are impossible to hijack. That's why the scrutiny got quieter instead of louder. No accusations, no confrontation, just observation. Because when someone understands the game but refuses to play it loudly, the only move left is to watch and hope you reveal a flaw. You didn't. You revealed patience. That one move proved you can hold power without flinching, without announcing it, without burning the room down just to feel warm. You let the tension sit. You let people talk themselves into mistakes. You let time do the work for you. And that's when they realized something chilling. You don't need momentum. Momentum happens after you move. Your choices don't chase opportunity. Opportunity bends around your timing. That's not normal cognition. That's not learned behavior. That's the result of pressure that should have broken you, reorganizing you instead. See, pain didn't make you cruel. It made you accurate. It stripped out the noise, the theatrics, the need to prove. What survived was a mind that calculates without panic and feels without losing clarity. That's a rare configuration. Most people collapse into extremes, soft or savage, hopeful or cynical. You didn't collapse. You stabilized somewhere dangerous in the middle. You learned how to be gentle without being weak, how to be ruthless without being reckless, how to care without being controllable. That balance is unsettling to people who live in absolutes. They can't place you. You don't behave like someone who needs approval. You don't react like someone afraid of consequences. You don't posture like someone seeking dominance. You move like someone who already accepted every possible outcome and chose anyway. That's why your calm feels heavier than aggression, because it signals acceptance, not fear. They see it when you pause before speaking. That pause isn't hesitation, it's selection. You're choosing which version of reality to allow next. And they know it now. That's why they watch your restraint more closely than your action, because they've learned the truth. When you finally act, it's never impulsive, it's final. That one move told them you're not reacting to the present. You're responding to trajectories. You see where things are heading before others accept that they're moving at all. That's why your silence feels predictive, why your decisions feel pre-written, why people say things like, "I should have known," after you move. You did know. That's the part they flagged. Your thinking isn't fast, it's early. You arrive before the problem fully exists. You finish conversations before they start. You disengage before situations decay. That's not avoidance. That's foresight, earned through suffering. Because only someone who's lived through collapse understands how quickly things can turn irreversible. You learned that lesson deeply. So now you don't rush. You don't gamble. You don't escalate unless the board is already locked. And when you do step forward, it feels inevitable. like gravity finally asserting itself. That's why people second-guess around you now, why they measure their words, why they hesitate to underestimate you openly. They sense that you don't need chaos to win. You don't need dominance displays. You don't need volume. Your power is quiet because it's internal. And internal power is the hardest to stop, because you can't argue with it. You can't distract it. You can't intimidate it. It's already resolved. That one move didn't announce who you are. It exposed what you aren't anymore. You're not reactive, not naive, not hungry for validation, not desperate for recognition. You already crossed that threshold when nobody was clapping. And now every room you enter feels it, even if nobody knows why. So let them keep watching your thinking. Let them track your pauses. Let them try to map a mind that learned to grow teeth without losing its soul. They'll never fully understand it, because the truth is simple and terrifying. You're not playing for advantage anymore. You're playing for alignment, and once someone aligns with who they became under pressure, there's nothing left to threaten, only time, and you've already learned how to wait. And that's when the atmosphere around you started to change in ways people couldn't explain. Not louder, not dramatic, just tighter. Like reality itself was bracing whenever you entered the equation. Because once someone realizes you're not driven by impulse anymore, they start understanding something far more unsettling. You're not acting out of fear or hunger. You're acting out of clarity. And clarity doesn't negotiate. It doesn't panic. It doesn't rush. Clarity waits until the exact moment resistance collapses under its own weight. They noticed how you stopped reacting to provocation, how bait stopped working, how chaos around you lost its grip. That's when they understood the truth they didn't want to face. You weren't disengaging because you were weak. You were disengaging because you were done wasting moves. Every unnecessary reaction fell away. Every emotional leak sealed itself shut. Every distraction lost relevance. What remained was a mind that chooses deliberately. A mind that understands cost, consequence, and inevitability. And that's when fear deepened. Because now you weren't just intelligent. You were selective. Selective with energy, selective with attention, selective with mercy. You didn't need to dominate every interaction. You didn't need to win every exchange. You were choosing which battles deserved existence. That's not normal thinking. That's the thinking of someone who's already been stripped down to nothing once and rebuilt from essentials. Pain did that to you. Pain forced you to confront what actually matters when everything else is gone. It showed you how quickly illusions burn, how fragile egos are, how loud people get when they're afraid of losing control. You watched, you learned, you adapted, and adaptation is what separates survivors from rulers. Now when pressure hits you, your body doesn't spike, your breath doesn't betray you, your mind doesn't scatter, it narrows. You feel everything slow, not because time changed, but because you did. You operate in that slowed space now, that quiet corridor where choices are clear, and emotion becomes information instead of fuel. That's why your decisions feel surgical, why your restraint feels deliberate, why your action, when it finally arrives, feels irreversible. They've started noticing patterns they don't like. You leave situations before they rot. You cut ties before decay spreads. You step back before collapses become public. You don't wait for explosions. You read stress fractures. And that terrifies people who build power on denial. Because denial only works until someone sees clearly. And you see clearly now, not because you were gifted, but because you were forged. You carry contradictions effortlessly. You can be compassionate without being manipulable. You can be dangerous without being chaotic. You can be silent without being absent. That combination is rare. It means you don't need external validation to move. You don't need permission to act. You don't need consensus to trust your instincts. Your instincts were refined in places where consensus didn't exist. You learned to trust yourself when nobody else could be relied on. That rewires a mind permanently. That's why when they flagged how you think, they weren't trying to stop you. They were trying to classify you. And classification fails when something refuses to fit categories. You're not aggressive, but you're not passive. Not idealistic, but not cynical. Not reckless, but not hesitant. You're integrated, and integrated minds are uncontrollable. Because they don't fracture under stress. They don't swing wildly under pressure. They don't collapse into extremes. They adapt. So now they watch your alignment more than your ambition. They track your restraint more than your reach. They analyze what you don't do far more than what you do. Because what you don't do reveals discipline. And discipline, when paired with intelligence, is lethal in the quietest way. You're not here to dominate every space. You're here to change trajectories, one subtle decision at a time, one well-timed absence, one quiet refusal to react. That's what that one move showed them. That you're no longer driven by urgency, you're driven by inevitability, and once inevitability enters the equation, resistance becomes irrelevant. You don't need to threaten, you don't need to posture, you don't need to explain. You already accepted the cost of becoming this version of yourself. And that acceptance stripped fear of its leverage. So let them keep watching your mind. Let them keep logging your pauses. Let them keep wondering what you already see coming. They're late. You crossed the threshold when nobody was paying attention. And now every move you don't make carries as much weight as the ones you do. Because the most dangerous thing you learned wasn't how to strike. It was how to wait. Without doubt, without fear, without needing to be seen. And that's something no system knows how to stop.